Commissioner Gordon, Bane has escaped.
Memory has a way of pretending it is a guide when it is really a weight. It keeps replaying old scenes, not to teach you, but to keep you oriented toward what has already passed. The mind does this out of habit, not loyalty. It repeats what feels known because the known feels controllable. You learned how to survive certain conditions, certain failures, certain disappointments, and those lessons once mattered. They helped you adapt. They helped you endure. But adaptation can quietly turn into attachment. You begin to organize your present behavior around previous outcomes. You anticipate pain before it arrives. You lower expectations before they can be challenged. You tell yourself you are being cautious when you are really protecting an outdated version of yourself. The danger is subtle. You do not feel trapped. You feel familiar. Familiarity feels calm, but it also feels flat. When you carry yesterday into today without examination, you force your future to speak an old language. Growth requires translation. It requires the courage to stop interpreting every moment through a history that no longer defines you. What once hurt you does not get voting rights forever. Survival taught you lessons. It did not grant those lessons permanent authority. Carrying them forward without question turns wisdom into limitation. At some point, reflection stopped being useful and started becoming repetitive. You revisited the same memories, the same explanations, the same justifications, hoping that one more pass would finally give you closure. Closure does not come from repetition. It comes from redirection. The mind cannot move forward while it keeps narrating what has already happened. That narration feels productive because it keeps you busy. It keeps you analyzing instead of deciding. The problem is not that you remember. The problem is that you identify. You let old outcomes define your range. You assume that what happened before will happen again because it once did. That assumption shrinks possibility. It convinces you that caution equals intelligence. Intelligence without movement becomes paralysis. You are not obligated to remain loyal to old interpretations. You are allowed to revise them. Revision does not deny experience. It places it in context. Context frees you. Without it, memory becomes a script you keep performing. Each performance reinforces the belief that you are still living inside that chapter. You are not. Time moved. You did too. The only thing lagging behind is perception. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It means removing authority from what no longer serves direction. Pain once demanded attention because it was unresolved. You learned from it. You changed because of it. That transaction is complete. Continuing to carry it forward is unpaid labor. You do not owe your future an explanation for your past. You owe it presence. Presence requires mental space. That space cannot exist while you are constantly checking backward for threats that no longer exist. The nervous system does not know the difference between remembered danger and current danger. It responds the same way. That response keeps you vigilant when you should be focused. Alertness aimed at the wrong time drains energy. You feel tired without knowing why. The exhaustion does not come from effort. It comes from holding tension that has nowhere to go. Release happens when you stop rehearsing old battles and start committing to new ones. New challenges recalibrate attention. They pull you out of rumination and into engagement. Engagement restores vitality. Life feels heavier when you are stuck in recollection. It feels sharper when you are invested in what is unfolding now. There is comfort in identity built around struggle. It gives meaning to what you endured. It gives structure to your story. The risk is staying there too long. When identity remains anchored to what broke you, you unconsciously keep yourself small enough to justify that identity. You hesitate to outgrow it because growth would force a rewrite. Rewrites feel like betrayal. They are not. They are evolution. You can honor what shaped you without letting it limit you. Strength is not measured by how long you remember the wound. It is measured by how fully you move beyond it. Movement does not erase scars. It changes what they signify. They stop being warnings and become evidence. Evidence that you survived. Evidence that you adapted. Evidence that you are no longer who you were when those marks were made. The future does not need a constant reminder of old pain. It needs room to form something new. That room appears when you stop framing yourself as a product of what happened and start acting as an author of what comes next. The past speaks loudly when the present feels uncertain. It offers explanations, patterns, familiar emotional terrain. Uncertainty feels open-ended. The mind prefers closed loops. That preference keeps people circling old ground. You return to known disappointments because they feel safer than unknown possibilities. Unknown possibilities carry risk. Risk demands courage. Courage grows only through exposure. Avoiding that exposure keeps courage dormant. Dormant courage feels like absence. You tell yourself you no longer have what you once did. That belief is convenient because it excuses delay. The truth is simpler. You have not asked yourself to use it recently. Abilities weaken when unused. They return when demanded. Demanding more from yourself requires releasing the narrative that you are defined by previous limits. Limits that were real once do not get lifetime contracts. Circumstances change. Skills develop, perspective widens. Refusing to update your self-image traps you in a version that no longer fits. The mind treats time like a map, even though it has never touched either direction. Yesterday and tomorrow do not exist anywhere you can point to. They are simulations assembled from memory and anticipation, stitched together to give the nervous system a sense of continuity. This ability once served survival. It helped you prepare, avoid danger, plan movement. Over time, that tool became a cage. The brain learned to live inside projections instead of sensations. It rehearses what already happened or imagines what might happen, all while ignoring what is actually occurring. This disconnection feels subtle because it has become normalized. You move through days half present, narrating instead of experiencing. The cost of this habit is awareness. Awareness anchors perception to reality. Without it, you live inside interpretation. Interpretation is easy to influence. Whoever controls the narrative controls attention. When attention drifts away from the present, it becomes pliable. You react instead of respond. You anticipate instead of observe. This makes you manageable, predictable, useful to systems that rely on consistency rather than consciousness. The present moment carries too much power because it cannot be rehearsed or edited. It demands engagement. That engagement disrupts patterns. Patterns are profitable. Awareness is not. The brain simulates the past to explain identity. It simulates the future to create safety. Both simulations reduce uncertainty. Uncertainty feels dangerous to a system designed to preserve itself. But reduction of uncertainty often comes at the expense of accuracy. The more time you spend in mental reconstructions, the less contact you have with reality as it unfolds. Reality does not repeat itself cleanly. It changes moment to moment. Awareness allows you to adjust in real time. Without it, you rely on templates. Templates simplify people. Templates simplify decisions. Templates simplify you. This simplification is useful to external structures that prefer compliance over creativity. A present mind notices inconsistencies. It notices manipulation. It notices options. A distracted mind follows scripts. Society encourages distraction not by force but by design. Endless reminders of what happened and what might happen pull attention away from now. News cycles replay fear. Metrics quantify worth. Timelines define progress. All of it trains you to live in comparison and anticipation rather than observation. Observation creates independence. Independence is difficult to manage. When awareness drifts, perception narrows. You stop seeing what is in front of you and start seeing what you expect to see. Expectation filters reality. Filters remove information. Removed information reduces choice. Reduced choice increases predictability. Predictability allows control. This chain operates quietly. You are not coerced, you are distracted. Distraction feels harmless. It feels like entertainment, productivity, connection. But each layer pulls attention further from the present moment where real power resides. Power here does not mean dominance. It means clarity. Clarity reveals options. Options create leverage. A mind anchored in the present notices timing. Timing determines outcomes more than force ever could. When you are not present, timing is missed. You react late. You speak after the moment passed. You move when conditions shifted. Then you explain the loss by referencing the past or fearing the future. Both explanations avoid the truth. You were not fully here. The present moment is uncomfortable because it removes narrative cushioning. There is no story to hide behind. There is only sensation, choice, consequence. This demands responsibility. Responsibility scares systems that thrive on diffusion. When people are present, they stop outsourcing judgment. They feel what is happening and respond accordingly. That responsiveness makes them unpredictable. Unpredictable individuals do not fit neatly into behavioral models. Models require patterns. Patterns require repetition. Repetition requires attention anchored somewhere other than now. That is why attention is constantly pulled forward or backward. Regret and anxiety serve the same function. They displace awareness. Regret keeps you reviewing. Anxiety keeps you forecasting. Both prevent full engagement. Full engagement would expose artificial constraints. It would reveal that many rules exist only because people are too distracted to question them. The present moment dissolves illusions because it cannot be simulated fully. It must be lived. Living here sharpens perception. You notice tone shifts. You notice hesitation. You notice opportunity before it announces itself. This awareness builds advantage quietly. You are not louder. You are earlier. You move when others are still thinking. That difference compounds. Those anchored elsewhere call it luck. It is not. It is attention applied at the correct time. The future-obsessed mind waits. The past-obsessed mind hesitates. The present-anchored mind acts with precision. Precision does not require speed. It requires presence. Presence cuts through noise. Noise is abundant by design. Noise keeps attention fragmented. Fragmented attention cannot form coherent strategy. Strategy requires seeing the whole field. The whole field only appears when you stop narrating and start observing. Observation is active. It takes effort because the mind resists silence. Silence exposes reality without commentary. Commentary is comforting. Reality is demanding. Society does not need to weaken individuals directly. It only needs to keep them distracted. Distraction prevents self-regulation. Without self-regulation, people rely on external cues to decide what matters. Those cues are easy to manipulate. When attention is constantly hijacked, agency erodes. You feel busy but ineffective, informed but uncertain, connected but isolated. All of these states stem from attention misplacement. The present moment reconnects agency because it collapses abstraction. You cannot outsource choice when you are fully here. You feel the consequence of delay immediately. You sense alignment or misalignment in real time. This feedback loop strengthens intuition. Intuition is simply pattern recognition sharpened by awareness. A distracted mind loses access to it. That loss makes you dependent on rules, advice, permission. Dependence creates predictability. Predictability creates stability for systems that require compliance. Control has always been misunderstood because people keep reaching for it in places where it cannot live. They grip memories, trying to rewrite them. They project into tomorrow, trying to command outcomes that do not yet exist. Both efforts feel busy, but neither produces power. Power only appears where choice meets action. That intersection happens now and nowhere else. The past is fixed data. The future is imagined terrain. Neither responds to effort. You can analyze yesterday endlessly and nothing changes. You can visualize tomorrow perfectly and nothing moves. Action requires a surface that can be touched. That surface is the present moment. When attention drifts away from it, agency evaporates. You feel trapped not because circumstances tightened, but because your point of leverage disappeared. The mind then compensates by thinking harder, planning more, replaying old scenes, forecasting new threats. This creates mental motion without physical effect. Exhaustion follows, not because life demanded too much, but because effort was applied where it could not register. The realization is simple and unsettling. Every ounce of influence you will ever have exists only in what you choose and do right now. The past exerts psychological pressure because it feels concrete. It has images, emotions, stories attached to it. The brain mistakes vividness for accessibility, but no matter how detailed memory becomes, it remains sealed. Nothing enters, nothing exits. When you direct energy backward, you are not influencing outcomes. You are reinforcing identity. Identity built on memory resists change because it depends on continuity. Agency threatens that continuity by introducing deviation. That is why releasing the past feels disorienting. You are not losing information. You are losing an anchor that kept behavior predictable. Predictability feels safe, even when it limits you. The moment you stop referencing past conclusions, choice becomes immediate. Immediate choice carries responsibility. Responsibility is heavy when you are used to explanation. The past provides explanations. The present demands decisions. Many prefer explanation because it postpones accountability. Yet postponement costs power. The more you explain yourself through history, the less you act through presence. Action does not negotiate with memory. It proceeds based on what is available now. The future exerts a different kind of pull. It promises safety if you prepare enough. It suggests that once conditions align, you will move decisively. This promise keeps you waiting. Waiting feels rational because it frames inaction as prudence. But no future moment will ever arrive ready for execution. When tomorrow becomes today, it is simply another present. If agency was absent before, it remains absent. Preparation without action builds anticipation, not capability. Capability forms through use. Use happens only now. Imagining future success does not train execution, it trains fantasy. Fantasy soothes anxiety temporarily, then leaves you unchanged. That cycle breeds frustration. You feel close to progress without experiencing it. The gap between expectation and reality widens. That gap erodes confidence. You begin doubting yourself rather than the strategy. The strategy was flawed from the start. You tried to act in a time that does not exist. Agency feels scarce because it is constantly deferred. You tell yourself you will take control after one more insight, one more resource, one more sign. These conditions keep shifting because they live in projection. Projection has no endpoint, presence does. Presence forces a decision. That decision may be imperfect, but it is real. Real decisions produce feedback. Feedback refines judgment. Judgment strengthens future decisions. This sequence builds authority internally. Authority grounded in experience does not require reassurance. It stands on evidence. Without entering the present fully, this sequence never begins. You remain dependent on ideas rather than outcomes. Outcomes teach faster than theory ever could. They clarify what matters. They expose what does not. They replace imagination with information. Information gained through action carries weight. It alters behavior naturally. You stop hesitating because hesitation becomes inefficient. Efficiency emerges when agency is exercised repeatedly in real time. The present moment feels demanding because it removes distance. There is no buffer of time to hide behind. When you are here, you must choose. Choice brings consequence. Consequence reveals impact. Impact forces adjustment. Adjustment requires humility. The ego resists this chain because it prefers control without exposure. The past offers control through interpretation. The future offers control through planning. Neither tests you. The present tests you constantly. That testing sharpens awareness. Awareness improves timing. Timing determines effectiveness. A well-timed small action often outperforms a delayed grand one. Those anchored elsewhere miss timing because they are not watching. They are remembering or anticipating. Watching is an act of presence. Presence is active, not passive. It requires attention, restraint, and readiness. Experience does not begin with events. It begins with attention. Two people can stand in the same room, hear the same words, face the same conditions, and walk away living in entirely different realities. The difference is not intelligence, background, or opportunity. It is awareness. Awareness decides what enters perception and what gets filtered out. It determines which signals are amplified and which are ignored. When awareness is shallow, life feels random. You feel acted upon. Circumstances appear to happen to you without warning. When awareness deepens, patterns emerge. Cause and effect become visible. You start noticing the subtle cues that precede outcomes. Tone before conflict. Timing before opportunity. Tension before collapse. None of these are hidden. They are simply unnoticed. The world does not conceal truth. It overwhelms perception. Awareness cuts through that noise. It simplifies without reducing. It shows you what matters now. Without it, you live reactively. Reaction keeps you late to everything. Late to decisions. Late to shifts. Late to yourself. Awareness returns you to the point where influence begins. Not after the fact, not in theory. Right where experience forms. When awareness narrows, experience shrinks. You see fewer options because fewer options register. You interpret situations through habit rather than observation. Habitual perception saves energy, but it costs accuracy. The brain likes shortcuts. It categorizes quickly. It labels faster than it examines. Those labels become reality if left unchallenged. Awareness slows that process just enough to introduce choice. Choice interrupts automatic response. Automatic response is efficient, but it is blind. Blindness creates repetition. Repetition creates stagnation. This is how people live years inside the same emotional loops while circumstances change around them. They are not cursed. They are inattentive. Attention sounds passive, but it is not. Sustained awareness requires effort. It demands presence without distraction. Distraction fractures experience. Fragmented experience feels chaotic. Chaos makes people seek control through force or avoidance. Neither works. Control emerges naturally when awareness expands because you see where to apply effort. You stop pushing everywhere and start moving precisely. Awareness shapes emotion before emotion feels like emotion. You do not suddenly become irritated. You miss the early signals of tension. You do not suddenly lose motivation. You ignore subtle disengagement long before it becomes exhaustion. Most breakdowns are not abrupt. They are gradual failures of attention. Awareness notices small deviations and corrects early. Without it, you wait until correction requires force. Early adjustment conserves it. This principle applies everywhere. Relationships or health. Direction. You do not drift off course suddenly. You drift by degrees. Awareness is the instrument that keeps you aligned. When it dulls, life feels heavier because you are constantly compensating for missed signals. You solve problems that did not need to exist. You repair damage that could have been avoided. That constant repair creates fatigue mistaken for lack of capacity. It is not capacity that is missing, it is awareness. The quality of your thinking depends on the quality of your awareness. Thoughts arise from perception. If perception is distorted, thought follows suit. A distracted mind generates distorted conclusions. It fills gaps with assumption. Assumption hardens into belief. Belief directs behavior. Behavior shapes outcome. The chain starts with what you notice. If awareness is scattered, everything downstream degrades.